Okay, everybody. Welcome to Tato's Hardcore Media. I wanted to go over this with JD Vance on Europe. I've been for a long time talking about UK, Europe, especially Europe has become, UK has become a dictatorship, and Muslim extremists have taken whole place over, rapes, murders, and everything, and gotten away with it. Some are only in there for a day, some of them only there for days for a murder and stuff like that. While the natives, they get full time. And there it's on Twitter X. It's on there. People can look it up. And how migrants, Muslims have, whether it be Africa or Arabia, have, just attacked native people for no reason whatsoever. The white people over there. And it's just, Keir Starmer, that piece of shit. He and his Labour Party has allowed it to happen. And they've jailed people for up to 10 to 20 years for speech violations, not hate speech, but speaking against the sex trafficking that's happening with these migrants from Africa and Muslim Arab countries. And how they have instead attacked their own people. Anyways, let's get into this. I want people to do their research, also on Twitter X, about the, what's going on in the UK and EU, Australia, New Zealand, stuff like that, with everything. But this is, I guess, I looked at some of this before, and first of all, leave a comment, leave a like, tell me what you think. I want to know.
All right. Did he give the speech? I haven't heard it.
Well, thank you.
I heard it.
And
thanks
clips. To all the gathered delegates and luminaries and media professionals, and thanks especially to the hosts of the Munich Security Conference for being able to put on such an incredible event. We're, of course, thrilled to be here. We're happy to be here. And,
right.
One of the things that I wanted to talk about today is, of course, our shared values.
Yeah, he's going to love, flaming them, just burning them, whatever. I mean, the thing is, look, I'm not on any political side, really, but I have seen the atrocities that have gone on with, happening in the UK and Europe there. Ireland, Scotland, Wales, Australia. I'm not, a Trump, make America great again type of person. I'm not. But there is stuff that, I do like about what Trump is doing with the border and stuff like that. I vote for Republican president and for Democrats, so I need to put that out there. I do. But.
And it's great to be back.
I also don't like Trump on a lot of his administration on anti-porn stuff. But anyway.
Back in Germany, as you heard earlier, I was here last year as United States Senator. I saw Foreign Secretary David Lammy, and joked that both of us last year had different jobs than we have now. But now it's time for all of our countries, for all of us who have been fortunate enough to be given political power by our respective peoples, to use it wisely to improve their lives. And I want to say that, I was fortunate in my time here to spend some time outside the walls of this conference over the last 24 hours. And I've been so impressed by the hospitality of the people, even as, of course, as they're reeling from yesterday's horrendous attack. And the first time
They had a crazy guy drove a truck into, I think it was like 18 people, 30-something people. I'm not really sure exactly. And he was a migrant who had been told to leave, but they didn't get rid of him. And then he killed a kid. I don't know if other people died in the process. 28. Yeah, the numbers were uncertain yesterday.
I was ever in Munich was with my wife, actually, who's here with me today, on a personal trip. And I've always loved the city of Munich, and I've always loved its people. And I just want to say that we're very moved, and our thoughts and prayers are with Munich and everybody affected by the evil inflicted on this beautiful community. We're thinking about you, we're praying for you, and we will certainly be rooting for you in the days and weeks to come. Now, I hope that's not the last bit of applause that I get, but we gather at this conference, of course, to discuss security, and normally we mean threats to our external security. I see many great military leaders gathered here today. But while the Trump administration is very concerned with European security and believes that we can come to a reasonable settlement between Russia and Ukraine, and we also believe that it's important in the coming years for Europe to step up in a big way to provide for its own defense, the threat that I worry the most about vis-a-vis Europe is not Russia, it's not China, it's not any other external actor. And what I worry about is the threat from within, the retreat of Europe from some of its most fundamental values shared with the United States of America.
Yes.
Oh boy. Oh boy. Bro, he went there just to talk shit about him. Yeah. I think he's right, by the way. Completely agree with him.
Now, I was struck that...
I do too. I'm not a Make America Great type of person, but I agree with this. I know what's going on around the world and stuff like that. So,
former European commissioner went on television recently and sounded delighted that the Romanian government had just annulled an entire election.
Wow.
He warned that if things don't go to plan, the very same thing could happen in Germany too. Now, these cavalier statements are shocking to American ears. For years, we've been told that everything we fund
they annulled an election? That seems a little bit,
support is in the name of our shared democratic values. Everything from our Ukraine policy to digital censorship is billed as a defense of democracy. But when we see European courts canceling elections and senior officials threatening to...
Canceling elections does not seem democratic.
That's not freedom.
I'll say
That's not democracy. That is dictatorship.
Cancel others. We ought to ask whether we're holding ourselves to an appropriately high standard. And I say ourselves because I fundamentally believe that we are on the same team. We must do more than talk about democratic values. We must live them.
I find this crazy. Let me tell you why, from what I know, okay? Is that Trump said he had a great talk with the European leaders. He says that, and in Canada and stuff like that, he said, we had a great talk and everything like that. Then, days later, stuff happens. There's tariffs and everything else. Then, enter J.D. Vance with this. Oh, everything's going well. Sends them over there. Talks shit to them. Has to school them about democracy because it's become a dictatorship in the EU and UK. Europe used to be the place of freedom of thought, freedom of speech, and freedom of expression. It's not anymore with migrants coming over.
Now, within living memory of many of you in this room, the Cold War positioned defenders of democracy against much more tyrannical forces on this continent. And consider the side in that fight that censored dissidents, that closed churches, that canceled elections. Were they the good guys? No. Certainly not. And thank God.
Nope. Yeah.
They lost the Cold War. They lost because they neither valued nor respected all of the extraordinary blessings of liberty. The freedom.
I think that they lost because they had to censor things. If you have to censor stuff, you've already lost the ideological battle.
Yeah, you do.
You've already lost.
Yeah, yeah.
The fact that you're censoring it is your acknowledgement that
you're
you've
losing,
lost.
You're losing, your side is losing. So you have to censor it. You have to do that, then you've already lost. Or you don't know how to get out of it. You don't know how to speak your way out, to counter it, to speak and counter it intelligently. This is where dictatorship comes in. You force everything on the people.
Like, you know it. Like, if there's, yeah, that's it.
To surprise, to make mistakes, to invent, to build. As it turns out, you can't mandate innovation or creativity, just as you can't force people what to think, what to feel, or what to believe.
Try,
and we
though.
believe those things.
They need to be the same way with adult video and everything. And what the EU has been doing, UK and US. Him as well, needs to drink their own medicine. That it's all about, censoring adult video and destroying it and stuff like that. Where the EU, like I said, used to be the forefront of freedom of thought and expression and everything. And now it's just totally gone to shit.
Are certainly connected. And unfortunately, when I look at Europe today, it's sometimes not so clear what happened to some of the Cold War's winners. I look to Brussels, where EU commissars warn citizens that they intend to shut down social media during times of civil unrest.
Yep.
Bro, this is like...
This
is like the first 5 minutes of V for Vendetta. How the fuck does this happen? How are people putting up with that over there? That's insane. Can you invade us, please? I don't know. No, that's too much money. You have no choice? Why are people voting for this shit?
They aren't voting for that shit, Ozzy. They're not voting for that shit. They're not. The natives don't like it, but they're flooding migrants in to take over all this stuff. And oh god, people need to really do the research on what's been happening over there with migrants just taking over everything. And there's not going to be any natives left, to be honest. They're not. There's not going to be any left. There isn't.
The moment they spot what they've judged to be, quote, hateful content.
So the government decides what's hateful or not, and whenever they make that decision, they decide to censor you arbitrarily.
They lost that fight because it means that they only want one kind of speech, and that's the kind of speech that only they will allow. You can't counter it or anything, even if you're right. In a lot of cases, the other side is right. That is talking against the government. And they'll label it hate speech or terrorism, which they do in the UK all the time, and it's not. And you have more people going to jail in the UK than there ever has in Russia, except for way back. I mean, I'm talking about that. It's ridiculous.
And people in Europe are okay with this?
No.
Man. Y'all need to throw some tea into the water or some shit. Like, you can't let this happen. Yeah, bro, you're gonna let these clowns boss you around. No, we're not? Well, then organize and get rid of them. Yeah, the people have no say. I don't know about that.
Country where police have carried out raids against citizens suspected of posting anti-feminist comments online as part of, quote, combating misogyny on the internet.
Bro, this guy just brought up Gamergate. I love it. Oh my fucking God. Yeah, no guns? I don't even think that it's guns.
Yeah,
like, I mean, Trump didn't win in 2024 because of guns. Like,
well,
no.
I mean, you have to have freedom of arms and stuff like that to revolt against these countries. You have to have that. This is the reason why I'm a proponent of, of the Second Amendment, the right, to bear arms and stuff, is because of dictatorship. So you can fight against dictatorship. And if you have to, if the government goes dictatorial, which our government always has many times, and others do, like Europe, you need to be able to fight against the government and overthrow the government when they no longer represent the people. I come from family that's from the revolution, so.
Nobody had to shoot anybody. If anything, I mean, I feel like we're down one, right? Because, like, they shot a Trump supporter in January 6th. So, I mean, I feel like the deep state is +1. But the fact is that, like, yeah, I think I mean, y'all have elections, though, right? Like, in Europe, you have elections. No? They're rigged?
Yeah,
I don't know what
they have ways, yeah.
I really don't.
A day of action. I look to Sweden, where 2 weeks ago the government convicted a Christian activist for participating in Koran burnings that resulted in his friend's murder.
There's no way that's true, right?
It is true. It is true. I've seen guys go after another person for burning a Quran, and he went after him with a knife. He's about to kill him. It's all recorded. It's all recorded. People can look it up on Twitter. You'll find it. Dig it up. Truth is out there. It's true.
There's no way, right?
So ignorant. Yeah.
Oh my God. I'm gonna tell.
And this is because of Muslim extremism that's been happening in Europe, where they want Sharia law, and they want to enslave women, and they want to enslave men, and they want to enslave children to their radicalized bullshit ideology, religious agenda. You have extremists coming from the Muslim sector of the world, Muslim countries in Arabia, and you got some, from Africa as well. And it's like these people were kicked out of their countries. They were kicked out because they were too radical, too extreme. They're not seeking refuge. They were not, political asylum seekers. They were, political asylum so they could spread their hate and degeneracy over here in other countries in the UK, Europe, Australia, New Zealand, Ireland, Scotland. The list goes on and on.
Tell you what the outcome of this is going to be. Eventually, one of these countries is going to get so fed up, they're going to elect somebody like Adolf Hitler again. And then when they do, we're going to have another fucking world problem. There's going to be a world-level crisis because it's going to
I don't see that
happen.
Let's see.
That's exactly what's going to happen.
I believe it's too late. You're talking about how Muslims outnumber natives in childbirth. You're talking about the natives have 1 to 2 kids, and the Muslim population, the migrants coming over, have up to 7 kids. They have up to 3 to 5 wives sometimes. Multiply that. 15 kids, 14 or whatever, depending. I'm not saying all of them do that. That'd be wrong of me to say that. But I'm just saying there's a multiplier. And then with some of their beliefs, they can auction off one of their wives to a friend if they have an extra. It's a slave trade.
I feel like it's inevitable, right? I mean, am I fucking crazy?
And as the judge in his case chillingly noted, Sweden's laws to supposedly protect free expression do not, in fact, grant, and I'm quoting, a free pass to do or say anything without risking offending the group that holds that belief.
Right. Yep. That's you, motherfuckers. That's you, motherfuckers.
I am so glad to be an American. Like, this is insane. Oh my god.
That guy looks like a big Russian guy, dude. That guy looks
That's
like
so
a
dumb.
Ruski
Yeah.
right there, dude. Holy shit.
What he said is true. Sweden is currently cooked. This is awful.
You got Davos. You have the World Economic Forum headquarters there, Davos, Switzerland. And they're not a neutral country at all. They're for dictatorship. They're for people to eat crickets, roaches, and to eat insects, and to have no heat, not to use as much electricity. It is a damn fucking dictatorship.
And perhaps most concerningly, I look to our very dear friends, the United Kingdom,
Oh no.
where the backslide away from conscience rights has placed the basic liberties of religious Britons in particular in the crosshairs. A little over 2 years ago, the British government charged Adam Smith Connor, a 51-year-old physiotherapist and an Army veteran, with the heinous crime of standing 50 meters from an abortion clinic and silently praying for 3 minutes.
And I believe in a woman's right to choose. I do. And everything. I also believe in other people's freedom of speech because my speech doesn't trump everyone else's. My freedom of speech is not better than, others and stuff like that. Even though sometimes I can say that it is, other person can say the same about me. And there are plenty of times when their speech is better than mine, honestly, because I use a lot of curse words. But, anyways, I believe people have a right to also their religion as long as it's not extreme. And they don't impose their beliefs on others. Do I agree with that guy praying against abortion? No, but I believe in his right to be able to exercise that freedom of speech. Just as I believe in a woman's right to choose as well. So.
Dude, like, I feel like people would be spamming if these things weren't true, right? Like, I would have probably seen it if it wasn't true.
They are
because,
saying
like,
stuff
I'm
on
the
X
kind
Twitter.
of person, extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. These are
There is
extraordinary
evidence,
claims.
Aussie.
This is outrageous. You have no idea how bad it really is?
Yeah, you don't. You have no idea, Ozzy.
Oh my god.
Yeah, look it up.
People just ignore the evidence? Why? We can't do anything? So is Europe just kind of like cooked?
Yes, it is. It is a lot worse.
Not obstructing anyone, not interacting with anyone, just silently praying on his own. And after British law enforcement spotted him and demanded to know what he was praying for, Adam replied simply, it was on behalf of the unborn son he and his former girlfriend had aborted years before. Now, the officers were not moved. Adam was found guilty of breaking the government's new buffer zones law, which criminalizes silent prayer and other actions that could influence a person's decision within 200 meters of an abortion.
I am, even though I'm not for all religious stuff anymore, I'm not. I never felt totally into that, even though I come from a Christian family. I don't. You don't need it, but I believe in the freedom of religion, that people should have the freedom to do so. That's very sacred. Freedom of speech, freedom of press, the right to bear arms in case government gets out of hand, dictatorship, and for self-defense and stuff, and freedom of speech, freedom of religion, all these things go together. And yeah, both sides over here in America always try to censor things. I've done plenty of videos on it. And we have to fight all forms of censorship. You know, we have to fight that, all the time. Us, kids, grandkids, it's a forever type of thing. It's a forever, it's an eternal fight.
What a shithole! Oh my god! You know, I used to criticize like places like Saudi Arabia and Dubai. But
it's happening there.
I mean,
you can't criticize Russia. You can't. We have no right to criticize Russia whatsoever when this shit is happening over there. When they're just as bad. And there are people here that want to do the same in different ways. Like I said, it's an eternal fight, a struggle to keep, freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of the press, and the right to bear arms. It's a forever, eternal fight that we always have to fight.
Yeah, I don't really see. There's not like a huge difference here, I feel like.
There is.
What the fuck?
Facility. He was sentenced to pay thousands of pounds in legal costs to the prosecution. Now, I wish I could say that this was a fluke, a one-off crazy example.
There is a difference when it comes in some place, of course, with women's rights and stuff like that still. But Saudi Arabia has made, is making great strides. And I do see them changing, becoming more and more liberal. I hope.
Full of a badly written law being enacted against a single
something
person.
Unfair. Our current government in the UK has literally ignored grooming games out of fear of being called racist. It's absolutely disgraceful. There's no way it's that bad, right? Like, because the thing is, like, that's why I haven't gone hard on this, is because it's just so ridiculous. I can't even acknowledge that it's real.
Easy example of a badly written law being enacted against a single person. But no, this last October, just a few months ago, the Scottish government began distributing letters to citizens whose houses lay within so-called safe access zones, warning them that even private prayer within their own homes may amount to breaking the law.
Cults. cunts. Because, I mean, this is what guns are supposed to be for. This is what guns are supposed to be for. I mean, tell you what, if you can have sex, or you can't have sex different times of the day, there's other stuff too. The internet. What you can't get outside the internet. What's considered hate speech. If you say anything against Muslim extremism, try and fight that. You're going to go to jail or you go to prison for inciting or creating hate, for calling stuff out, for calling out real crimes against women and children that have been raped, tortured, or killed, or the people that have been brutally murdered or wronged. If you call that out, you could be facing jail time or imprisonment for inciting hate and terrorism.
Wow.
The government urged readers to report any fellow citizens suspected guilty of thought crime. And
just so you guys know, George Orwell was in, I think, Spain or something like that in 1936. He didn't go over to America and then write 1984. He was in Europe and he wrote it.
Yeah, Spain.
No, he wrote 1984 in 1948 or 49. The book came out, and it was written, and part of it was informed in his experiences when he was in Spain in 1936.
Yeah, now Civil War. Big
Somewhere
Civil
around
War,
there.
Nazis got involved.
I could be off by a couple of years.
Became a dictatorship over there.
Britain and across Europe, free speech, I fear, is in retreat. And in the interest of comedy, my friends, but also in the interest of truth.
I wouldn't even say it's retreat, it's repression. Yeah, like, it's crazy. Like, I wonder, I wonder what a person is like that's defending this stuff. It's crazy. It's hard to believe because you've been enjoying your life, not troubling yourself with this bullcrap. This stuff has been going on for a long time.
Yeah, it has. It has.
Cancel culture in the EU is way worse than in the US.
Right.
How would they actually enforce that? Well, who cares whether you can enforce it or not? If the law is on the books and the law is bullshit, then you've got a problem, don't you?
I will admit that sometimes the loudest voices for censorship have come not from within Europe, but from within my own country, where the prior administration threatened and bullied social media companies to censor so-called misinformation. Misinformation like, for example, the idea that coronavirus had likely leaked from a laboratory in China. Our own government encouraged private companies to silence people who dared to utter what turned out to be an obvious truth. So I come here today not just with an observation.
I always find it very problematic when, like, we can always question, like, 9/11, the Gulf of Tonkin, Pearl Harbor, all of these other events, the JFK assassination, but you can't ask any questions about COVID back then. That's very interesting.
Yes, it is. But especially since so many of these politicians have deep pockets in pharmaceutical companies to dictate how they lay their policies on the people. Deep throat.
But with an offer.
The moon landing,
Just as the Biden administration seemed desperate to silence people for speaking their minds, so the Trump administration will do precisely the opposite, and I hope that we can work together on that. In Washington, there is a new sheriff in town, and under Donald Trump's leadership, we may disagree with your views, but we will fight to defend your right to offer it in the public square, agree or disagree.
Not so many claps.
Look at him. You see that guy? He's yeah. Is that the middle finger? Let me tell you, you guys need to get your shit together. You guys are pissing me off. Europe, UK. I got lineage, I got royalty, I got royal bloodlines. hundreds of years ago and stuff, way back. I'm glad I got all this different type of blood in me. You guys are pieces of shit. I just spit on you. What you have become, dictators and thugs and criminals. To your own people. Letting migrants do what they do to native people. I can always spit on you guys.
Oh. It didn't like that at all. Yeah, and then 3 people clapped.
Now, we're at the point, of course, that the situation has gotten so bad that this December, Romania straight up canceled the results of a presidential election.
Straight up
based
canceled.
on the flimsy suspicions
That's
of an intelligence
dictatorship.
agency and enormous pressure from its continental neighbors. Now, as I understand it, the argument was that Russian disinformation had infected the Romanian elections. But I'd ask my European
No,
friends to have
wasn't.
some perspective.
Well,
You can believe it's wrong for Russia to buy social media advertisements to influence your elections. We certainly do. You can condemn it on the world stage even. But if your democracy can be destroyed with a few $100,000 of digital advertising from a foreign country, then it wasn't very strong to begin with.
no, sure fucking wasn't, baby!
I love this fucking guy, man. I really do. This is amazing. Holy shit. Holy...
There's stuff that I do and do not like about him. There's stuff that I hate about him, but this is the stuff that I do like about him, about J.D.
But yes, it's so fucking true. Absolutely. He's up there roasting him. And I love how he'll pause for applause. Oh, God. This is insane. Yeah.
Now, the good news is that I happen to think your democracies are substantially less brittle than many people apparently fear. And I really do believe that allowing our citizens to speak their mind will make them stronger still. Which, of course, brings us back to Munich, where the organizers of this very conference have banned lawmakers representing populist parties on both the left and the right from participating in these conversations.
What?
Now,
Wait, what?
I believe that, yeah, I do.
and I really do
do.
believe that allowing
left
our
and right.
citizens to speak their mind will make them stronger still. Which, of course, brings us back to Munich, where the organizers of this very conference have banned lawmakers representing populist parties on both the left and the right from participating in these conversations. Now,
What? So some parties are just not allowed?
Because it's inciting. They say it can incite. Terrorism stuff. It can say, depression, mental health, or whatever.
Oh my God.
Terrorism. Yeah.
This is insane. So he's even calling out the event organizers at the... Yeah, absolutely. They're trying to ban AFD. In Germany, it's the AFD.
Yeah.
Because anything not left is Nazi. Holy shit.
Now, again, we don't have to agree with everything or anything that people say. But when people represent, when political leaders represent
Yeah.
an important constituency, it is incumbent upon us to at least participate in dialogue with them.
I think he's completely right. How do you think that, how do you think that it's a good idea to just simply go and kick anybody out who disagrees with you? I don't understand that at all. They're shitty indeed. AFD is pretty dumb, though. Well, if they're so dumb, then have them go up there and talk, and then you'll prove them that they're stupid.
Yeah, prove I'm stupid.
If-
This is what freedom of speech is about. If you're so right and everything, prove I'm stupid. That's what you're supposed to do. That's freedom of speech. both sides. You have all these different sides. Let them do it.
If somebody's so fucking stupid, then just go ahead and let them talk. That's it.
Now, to many of us on the other side of the Atlantic, it looks more and more like old entrenched interests hiding behind ugly Soviet-era words like misinformation and disinformation, who simply don't like the idea that somebody with an alternative viewpoint might express a different opinion or, God forbid, vote a different way or, even worse, win an election.
Yep.
Now, this is a security conference, and I'm sure you all came here prepared to talk about how exactly you intend to increase defense spending over the next few years in line with some new target.
Nope.
And that's great, because as President Trump has made abundantly clear, he believes that our European friends must play a bigger role in the future of this continent.
Yeah, of course.
We don't think, you hear this term, burden sharing, but we think it's an important part of being in a shared alliance together that the Europeans step up while America focuses on areas of the world that are in great danger.
Sure.
But let me also ask you, how will you even begin to think through the kinds of budgeting questions if we don't know what it is that we are defending in the first place? I've heard a lot already in my conversations, and I've had many, many great conversations with many people gathered here in this room. I've heard a lot about what you need to defend yourselves from, and of course that's important. But what has seemed a little bit less clear to me, and certainly I think to many of the citizens of Europe, is what exactly it is that you're defending yourselves for. What is the positive vision that animates this shared security compact that we all believe is so important? And I believe deeply that there is no security if you are afraid of the voices, the opinions, and the conscience that guide your very own people.
Ozzy?
Man.
Yes? No? Maybe?
This is the best VP ever. Bro, like,
I wouldn't say that, but
it's actually crazy. Like, this was the biggest comeback I've probably ever seen.
honestly, it is. There's been another vice president that's done this in history that I know of. I don't agree with all these. I agree with half of what he stands for. The other half I hate. But
A smart politician, holy fuck. Yeah, this guy is good, man. He's dissing the entire EU government from the stage. Yeah, and they have to sit in the audience. This man is the next president. I mean, I'll tell you, I would vote for him for sure. Like, I like him a lot. I think he's great.
I want somebody less
Europe
conservative.
faces many challenges, but the crisis this continent faces right now, the crisis I believe we all face together, is one of our own making. If you're running in fear of your own voters, there is nothing America can do for you. Nor, for that matter, is there anything that you can do for the American people who elected me and elected President Trump. You need democratic mandates to accomplish anything of value in the coming years. Have we learned nothing that thin mandates produce unstable results? But there is so much of value that can be accomplished with the kind of democratic mandate that I think will come from being more responsive to the voices of your citizens.
Yeah, I think it's pretty obvious that people are being suppressed. And he's making the U.S. looking an idiot from our perspective. America will stand alone in 4 years? Really? Because, like, I bet there's a lot of people in Europe that listen to this and they agree.
Yeah, most of the people do not like what's happening in the UK, EU, Australia, New Zealand, stuff like that. They don't. They're pissed off. It's just that they're not given a chance.
And I feel like the more, truck drivers that go in the crowds that happen, like, I feel like the only reason why people in Europe wouldn't agree in this is because Europe has tried to carefully construct a media apparatus that actively deceives people of what's really happening. I feel like that's the only case and the only explanation for why something like this would happen. Bullshit? Well, it's not though, right? Because, like, they don't report a lot of these things. They report them in misleading ways.
Right.
They don't report on whether somebody is a migrant or not. Somebody who's trying to push a narrative like that and talk about it gets arrested. I mean, I don't know. I've seen all of Europe. Well, no, that's a great point. That's a great point. All of the places in Europe don't do all of these things. But there's enough of them to where there's a problem. The immigrants are American haters and they're going to take over the whole Europe within a few years? I don't know.
Yeah, they are. They are. I think they are.
It just, I mean, like, from my perspective, it seems like Europe, like, this is me, like, as an American, what the fuck do I know, right? And, you know, I'm sure there's Europeans that are like, oh, America's like this or that, and I'm like, that's stupid. So if you're a European, you think that, that's fine. I feel like Europe is, like, massively fucking censored. And I think the government is, like, totally pushing this. And I don't even understand, like, what their end game is behind it.
If you're going to enjoy competitive economies, if you're going...
Like, in my opinion, I feel like if you can't have free expression and the free, like, the free marketplace of ideas, you can't have anything. You can't build off of anything. You can't plan anything. You can't base anything off of reality at all. So, like, if you don't have that, you don't have anything. And I can't see another way around that.
Evolve.
Especially whenever they use, like, terms that are so loose and they just apply it to people that they disagree with. You're incredibly uninformed. I mean, I don't know. I mean, he gave a lot of examples, and I don't think that you would agree with those examples, right? I mean, unless maybe they didn't happen. Maybe he's all lying. There are 30 governments. What are you talking about? Yeah, I know. Obviously, like, every government isn't the same. I'm saying the ones that are doing it are bad. Yeah, of course. I mean, logically, of course, that's what I would be saying.
To enjoy affordable energy and secure supply chains, then you need mandates to govern, because you have to make difficult choices to enjoy all of these things. And of course, we know that very well in America. You cannot win a democratic mandate by censoring your opponents or putting them in jail.
Yeah,
whether that's the leader of the opposition, a humble Christian praying in her own home, or a journalist trying to report the news.
Yeah.
Nor can you win one by disregarding your basic electorate on questions like who gets to be a part of our shared society. And of all the pressing challenges that the nations represented here face, I believe there is nothing more urgent than mass migration. Today.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Yep.
Uh-oh.
Yes!
He went there, yep.
Damn, right.
Oh, jeez.
Today, almost 1 in 5 people living in this country moved here from abroad. That is, of course, an all-time high. It's a similar number, by the way, in the United States, also an all-time high. The number of immigrants who entered the EU from non-EU countries doubled between 2021 and 2022 alone.
Yo.
What the fuck? Holy shit.
Fuck yeah.
And of course, it's gotten much higher since. And we know the situation, it didn't materialize in a vacuum. It's the result of a series of conscious decisions made by politicians all over the continent and others across the world over the span of a decade.
Is it just Ukraine? Oh, if it's just Ukraine, then that would make sense. Yeah.
We saw the horrors wrought by these decisions yesterday in this very
Who the fuck,
city.
Dumbass said Ukraine. It's not. Aussie, it's not. Kick that bitch out, chat.
And of course, I can't bring it up again without thinking about the terrible victims who had a beautiful winter day in Munich ruined, our thoughts and prayers are with them and will remain with them. But why did this happen in the first place? It's a terrible story, but it's one we've heard way too many times in Europe and unfortunately too many times in the United States as well. An asylum seeker, often a young man in his mid-20s, already known to police, rams a car into a crowd and shatters a community.
Well, they told him to leave too, right? Like he had deportation orders, or his asylum had been denied? And they just said, all right, well, there it is. Well, figure it out. His asylum had been, his asylum had been denied, but he had been allowed to stay?
How many times must we suffer these appalling setbacks before we change course and take our shared civilization in a new direction? No voter on this continent went to the ballot box to open the floodgates to millions of unvetted immigrants. But you know what they did vote for? In England, they voted for Brexit, and agree or disagree, they voted for it. And more all over Europe, they're voting for political leaders who promise to put an end to out-of-control migration. Now, I happen to agree with a lot of these concerns, but you don't have to agree with me. I just think that people care about their homes, they care about their dreams, they care about their safety and their capacity to provide for themselves and their children. And they're smart. I think this is one of the most important things I've learned in my brief time in politics. Contrary to what you might hear a couple mountains over in Davos, the citizens of all of our nations don't generally think of themselves as educated animals or as interchangeable cogs of a global economy.
No fucking way. Bro. He watched Sam's video. That's the exact vocabulary Sam Hyde used. Oh my God. Yeah, he did? Yeah. Jesus.
And it's hardly surprising that they don't want to be shuffled about or relentlessly ignored by their leaders. And it is the business of democracy to adjudicate these big questions at the ballot box. I believe that dismissing people, dismissing their concerns, or worse yet, shutting down media, shutting down elections, or shutting people out of the political process protects nothing. In fact, it is the most surefire way to destroy democracy. And speaking up and expressing opinions isn't election interference. Even when people express views outside your own country, and even when those people are very influential. And trust me, I say this with all humor, if American democracy can survive 10 years of Greta Thunberg scolding, you guys can survive a few months of Elon Musk. But what German democracy, what no democracy, American, German, or European, will survive is telling millions of voters that their thoughts and concerns, their aspirations, their pleas for relief are invalid or unworthy of even...
It's not even invalid. It's illegal. You can't even have these opinions. You can't express them.
Yeah.
Being considered.
Or prison.
Democracy rests on the sacred principle that the voice of the people matters. There's no room for firewalls. You either uphold the principle or you don't.
I should have called him more. European laughing at the other reason. All right.
The people have a voice. European leaders have a choice. And my strong belief is that we do not need to be afraid of the future. You can embrace what your people tell you, even when it's surprising, even when you don't agree. And if you do so, you can face the future with certainty and with confidence, knowing that the nation stands behind each of you. And that, to me, is the great magic of democracy. It's not in these stone buildings or beautiful hotels. It's not even in the great institutions that we have built together as a shared society. To believe in democracy is to understand that each of our citizens has wisdom and has a voice. And if we refuse to listen to that voice, even our most successful fights will secure very little. As Pope John Paul II.
Yeah, I think that's true. I mean, like, and if people can't even vote, they don't even let certain parties into the elections or into these like conventions or conferences. Like, that's nuts, man. Jesus.
My view, one of the most extraordinary champions of democracy on this continent or any other once said, "Do not be afraid." We shouldn't be afraid of our people, even when they express views that disagree with their leadership. Thank you all. Good luck to all of you. God bless you.
Man. Holy shit. That is wild. Well, well-spoken bunch of bullshit. I don't think it's bullshit.
I don't think it's not bullshit. I said that's bullshit. This had to be said. Anyways, you guys tell me what you think. Leave a comment, leave a like. Peace out.